a new drone, I love new gear, but I strongly suggest watching this video before you decide to order your brand new DJI Mini 4 Pro. So this video is going to be split into two separate parts. Number one, the camera and what it can do, and number two, the flight features. Obviously, as a filmmaker, the camera part is kind of the most interesting. As long as it flies, then we're okay. However, the flight capabilities are also very important to get the shot. So we're going to dive into those too. It's the same sensor, the same optics, and pretty much the same physical spec as the Mini 3 Pro. It's the 1/1.3 inch sensor. It's an f1.7 lens. It's a good sensor. Don't get me wrong, the image that's coming out of the Mini 3 Pro is absolutely fantastic. So it's not surprising that they've stuck with this sensor as the core of the Mini 4 Pro. However, there have been some firmware updates, maybe like unlocks.
A new image processing platform.
But there does seem to be an improvement in the way it handles highlights and shadows, and maybe a slight improvement in the dynamic range. Now onto the shooting capabilities, because there is a few changes. One of the main ones that DJI is pushing is the new 4K 100 FPS or 120 FPS. I can only think of like 2 or 3 times that I've ever used slow motion when shooting with a drone. The vast majority of the time you're shooting really wide scenes, you're shooting establishing scenes. If anything, you want to add more pace and more dynamics to the footage coming out of the drone, not slow it down further. The Mini 3 Pro already has capability of shooting 4K 60, so you have got slow motion, just not like super duper slow motion. I think this is a feature that can be useful in a very, very small number of cases, such as like extreme sports, probably just extreme sports. That's the only one I can think of. So the Mini 3 Pro, plenty good enough on that front as well. Then we move on to the gains. 1002. Because the Mini 4 Pro has D-Log profile. This is a big thumbs up. We currently have D-Cine-like on the Mini 3 Pro, which is a decent starting point for grading. I mean, it grades well, I like the profile, but D-Log, I mean, you're getting extra dynamic range, you're making the most of that sensor, and it's just even easier to match that footage with any other camera in terms of color grading. So there's definitely an advantage there. Finally, DJI are also advertising a night scene mode. I looked at Potato Jet's video, and to be honest with you, I think this is more of a gimmick. I mean, the drone has dual native ISO anyway. The low light performance is decent for such a small sensor. It's nice to have, but it's probably more of a gimmick, to be honest. So in terms of the camera, the only real added value as a filmmaker for me is the log profile. Based on the camera alone, I would definitely not be upgrading. Let's look at the flight features. So the first thing that stands out is the 04 transmission system as opposed to the 03 in the Mini 3 Pro. A big upgrade. A better feed from the drone to the controller. This is a more reliable connection, which means more range. I think up to 20 kilometers in the official spec. I don't think you'll ever get to 20 kilometers, but it's just nice to have. It's kind of future-proofing, and I mean, having connectivity with your drone is also important for safety, so this is definitely a major upgrade. Kind of bolting on from the safety aspect is the omnidirectional obstacle sensing, which means it is a far more reliable drone in terms of not hitting stuff. The Mini 3 Pro is blind on the sides and only really has viable sensors on the front. So if you're doing any sideways pans and there's a rock, sayonara amigo, dead. That's done. The next one is Active Track 360. I mean, this is an improved tracking functionality. This is a significant improvement for sure. I mean, you can see that it tracks the subject much better. There is a cool way to control the drone while tracking, so you can kind of, in the left bottom corner on this radar, draw on like a path for it to fly. It can do this while the sensors are in use as well, so it does make it a lot easier, for example, if you're a one-person band. Finally, waypoints. It's cool for a hyperlapse. It's cool for maybe doing things like showing a scene in different seasons, so you can fly that path multiple times, or showing progress of a building site or something like that. There's definitely a usage there, but again, for me personally as a filmmaker, not really anything extra there as far as difference between the 3 and the 4. We then get into like nitty gritty stuff. So there is a slight change to the battery. It's slightly more powerful, but the drone uses more power as well. So the flight time in practice is actually a little bit shorter than the 3 Pro. Something that I'm kind of frustrated about is the lack of backwards compatibility. I mean, I understand that obviously you need a new controller for the new 04 transmission system. It's kind of understandable. It would be nice to still be able to use your old controller with the 4 because it's pretty expensive to upgrade to the RC2. But even stuff like the ND filters, they've changed the mount slightly, which means you can't use your Mini 3 Pro NDs on the 4. One thing to consider as well is the Mini 3 Pro is now going to be getting cheaper, and if you want to buy one second hand, then that's another level of cheaper. Alright, so I guess it's time to summarize this. I would be upgrading to the 4 solely for the log feature and maybe a bit of extra transmission. In fact, I would put it this way. If you already own the Mini 3 Pro, I think you're better off saving your pennies, saving your time, and just sticking with the 3 Pro, because this upgrade, it's not going to make you a better filmmaker. However, if you're upgrading from the Mini 2 or from the Air 2 or any of the older drones and you want a decent small drone, and you want a groundbreakingly good small drone, this drone is the one for you, because I mean, it's a pretty epic drone. Hope you found this video useful. It was awesome hanging out with you. Subscribe to our channel for more vids on how to make better vids. And I did accidentally crash my drone in the intro. I wasn't supposed to. I was supposed to make sound effects of it crashing, but I just kind of flew with too much momentum and flew into the door. So bye. I was about to say, don't buy the Mini 4 Pro, but